Hello developer friends! This will be our last trip together to uncover deep secrets of the built-in JavaScript object date. I will explain the last three methods that allow us to further specify the format of the date output with respect to the locale of the client's browser. Let's begin. The first method's name is toLocaleString, and it returns a string with a language-sensitive representation of the date. We have already come into contact with fairly new arguments, locale and options, that make it possible to specify language for the sake of formatting conventions of the given language. The method has two input arguments. First is a string called locale, and the second is an object called options that holds individual settings. Return value of the method is of course string formatted according to provided language-specific conventions. If you do not specify any locale, the default one is used in its place. For me, it is Slovak locale. It has its own specifics, like delimiters of the date part of date object is dot followed by space and 24-hour time format. Another two locales I wanted to show are the United States and Great Britain. They are similar but different at the same time. The US follows the convention of month, day, year, while most of the world follows the order of day, month, year. Also, as it seems, the US likes to pad their numbers with zeros, and they prefer 12-hour AM-PM cycle over 24-hour cycle of the remaining parts of the world. The following block of code showcases the default format of multiple different locales. I chose 5 different locales, the US because it is obviously different from most of the others, Great Britain, German, Korean and Arabic. As you can see, each of them has its own specifics. The complete list of locales is quite large and contains several dozens of locales that should cover just about any language in the world. The other possibility apart from using locales is to specify or even override the format defined by using locale. Options object has many different properties which allow us to modify the resulting format. I chose a few of them and showed them in the next code example. Some of these options specify whether to output month as a number or a string. Others can specify time zone and its name or hour cycle. There are a lot of options and combinations, but from my experience they are still not implemented consistently over the different browsers. So you have to try and see the specific property and decide whether it is worth using the options of the method or to parse date yourself and make necessary changes. The next method carries the name toLocaleDateString, and it returns a string with a language-sensitive representation of the date portion of the date. It can utilize locales and options just like the previous method. In the case of this method, you have available the exact same properties and possibilities as with the toLocaleString method. However, it only makes sense to use the portion of settings that somehow modify the date portion of the provided date object. The last method is toLocaleTimeString, which returns a string with a language-sensitive representation of the time portion of the date. Exactly like with two previous methods, also this one has locales and options available to further modify the resulting string. We can specify a certain format of the output and properties like 12 or 24-hour cycle for the display of time portion. We can also completely override the format defined by a locale using the options properties. We can, for example, force the US locale to use a 24-hour cycle for displaying time. And of course, the possibilities don't end there. Sky's the limit, as they say, but thread carefully, because just like with the previous method, also this one allows you to add portions of the date object that don't exactly fit with the time portion. And with that, we are done. Those are all the date objects methods covered one by one. Now you are one step closer to becoming a real JavaScript expert. Or, a somewhat decent programmer. Definitely one of those two. But jokes aside, thank you if you stuck with me till the end. I hope you learned something new, and I will hopefully see you soon with the next JavaScript Basics series. This time, maybe about numbers. Who knows?